Ghosts, spirits, hauntings, they whisper along the lines between truth and myth, tantalizing us with their possibilities. Some people swear to have encountered the spirits of the dead, while others firmly believe this is impossible. Regardless of what the truth is, the concept of ghosts binds us together, intertwining our past and future together in a fascinating way. The possibility of a spiritual life represents the human desire to touch and to understand the afterlife, such as it may be. A good ghost story can scare, enthrall, and connect us to nameless people who lived 100 years ago. Helps us to understand the life they lived and the hardships they've endured. In this video series, we are exploring some of the strangest and the most enduring ghost stories of our local area. The Jemison Center is an abandoned monument of the past. In its shadows are the memories of hundreds of black workers exploited for labor in the Jim Crow era. The center disguised itself as a mental hospital, but in reality, it was just a front for its incredible immoral workforce for essentially slaves. Some say these abused souls come back to haunt the halls of Jemison Center, reminding anyone that visits there of the horrible conditions they were forced to live and work in. That deplorable place was a lot more than just a mental institution, though. It started as an orchard somewhere around the 1820s. The owner of the orchard, William Jemison, gave the orchard to one of the most important men in Alabama, Robert Jemison, Jr., his son. Roberts eventually owned 100,000 acres of land, toll roads, several mills, and 6 entire plantations. He was the model of an American dream. With 6 plantations under his name, he had plenty of places to live, but he chose to reside in the orchard, now known as Cherokee Place. He turned it into a plantation spanning over 4,000 acres. It was by far his largest plantation. While he lived there, he established a mental health institution, the Alabama State Hospital for the Insane, also known as the Old Bryce Hospital. Jemison lived there until 1962, when he moved into a newly constructed house in a nearby city. He then passed away soon after 1871. Post-mortem, Cherokee Place was given to the Alabama State Board of Mental Health, who owned the plantation and hospital until it was bought in 1939. The plantation was then renamed as the State Farm Colony of Negroes. Soon after it was bought, they began construction of a separate mental facility known as the Jemison Center. This place was built specifically for African Americans and was built on the idea that work bettered your mental health. However, retrospectively, it is believed that this was a lie to make the patients stay in the hospital and do various other chores, all for no pay. The patients were treated as slaves. The treatment is even more apparent when looking at the conditions they were forced to live in. In 1970, a reporter paid a visit to the Jemison Center, and what she saw was beyond wretched. She described the conditions as such. Human feces were caked on the toilets and walls, urine-soaked aging floors, many beds lacked linens, patients were sleeping on the floor. One small shower served 131 male patients. The 75 female patients only had one shower too. Most of the patients at Jemison were highly tranquilized and appeared to have not bathed in days. All appeared to lack any semblance of treatment. The stench was almost unbearable. 5,000 people lived in these conditions. All of them were African American. It was an obvious race crime hidden under a guise of mental health and charity. Truly despicable. The story of the Jemison Center doesn't end in 2003 when it was a nursing home. Oh no. It may have been abandoned by the living, but the dead were trapped in those same gross and decaying hallways. Some say never to leave. Those poor souls were sent there to get better, yet they were beaten, abused, and forced to sustain the very hospital they were put in to get better. Of course they'd be angry. Anyone would be in their shoes. so it makes sense that the spirits there are generally violent and vengeful. One such account of this behavior comes from a group of anonymous friends who made frequent ventures into the restricted building. They went there for a long time without any trouble. That is, until some of them began to agitate the spirits living there. In the rear of the building in the cafeteria, the troublemakers began to grow agitated. They were starting to doubt the validity of the supernatural claims in the center, so they wanted to make contact in any way they could. They began to scream and kick at the door, yelling harsh words and begging for a response. They definitely got one all right. A disembodied voice rang out in the decrepit cafeteria. "Get out." And so they did, never to return again. Other accounts tell of being hit, kicked, seeing debris flying out of nowhere, and even leaving the building with human scratch marks on their body. Something is definitely happening in this building, but the spirits there are not malicious. They're just angry at how they were treated. They won't bother you if you don't bother them. Now the Jemison Center lays in its tomb of despair, the floors collapsing in on itself and plants growing inside of its foundation. The center is covered in foul and harsh graffiti left by those who seek a cheap thrill. Be warned, the most dangerous part of this place isn't the spirits, but the very building itself. The structure of the building ready to collapse at any moment. If you ever venture there, be prepared, both for the falling infrastructure and the spirits that roam the halls, desperate for an escape from the hellhole they were forced into. Never forget the rich history of this place. Don't let the memories of those who suffered during the Jim Crow era fade away like the building did. Help the victims survive in your memory. We advise getting permission before entering any property so you don't serve any jail times or fines. Thank you all for watching, and tread carefully. If you like our videos, click that subscribe button. Also, don't forget to click that notification bell so you never miss a video that we upload. Know someone you think that would like our videos? Share with them.